time lapse right here, right?
Okay.
Then you select what format you're going to be using. Do you do these on slides?
It'll be a 24 well plate.
Okay, so then just click 24 well plate. I'm just going to leave it on slide because that's what I have here, but 24 well plate. Now let's just do 24 well plate just so you have like an idea of exactly how it's going to look. So basically all you do when you select here is it's just going to give you a quick format right here of the 24 wells.
Okay.
So for a wound assay, you're just doing like a phase contrast, seeing how it goes. Okay, so we'll go back to 20x right here. Is this a mag you generally do it at, or you go to a higher, lower? Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna click here because I guess this is where my.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, you find your sample, find focus on it. So this is just some dirt on the cover slip, but we'll work with it for now because it gets here, it doesn't matter. So just make sure single color is on. Bright field, you can adjust the resolution of it, brighten this up a little bit, set your exposure and everything right. And then basically all you're going to have to do is, in the 24 well plate, is there multiple wound assays that you're going to be looking at?
So
or just
each well will have one.
So you're going to want to have multi-point selected. And then,
Are we trying this, or should I just take it up?
so let's see. So just have multi-point selected here. So basically what you're going to want to do is find it. With this, do you set Z ranges with this usually, or just kind of single plane?
I focus on each wound, but it's going to be a single plane.
Okay. I would say usually for wound assays, it never really goes out of focus anyways. So, okay, all you're going to have to do is find it, point 1. Actually, I'm going to delete all real quick. So 1, and then click set, right? So then, let's just say that, we're in C1 right here, right?
Okay.
So now I go down to C3. Let's say that's where the next one is, right? Actually, I'm going to go down to C3 works. Okay, so then I find focus. And then, maybe there's some cell line right here, but there's nothing in the middle. Then I click set. You can do this for as many times as you want. All you're going to have to do is find focus. And then click set, because at each time interval it's going to go back to each of those points, right? And maybe every 15 minutes or so, let's say. So right now we have 2 points. We have this point right here and this point right here, and again, feel free to set as many as you want. All you're going to have to do is go to time lapse capture, and this looks a lot more confusing than it is. I'm going to talk you through it real quick because it's super easy. So start after. So, if you're administering drugs to them right before you start the time lapse, but you want to give the drugs 30 minutes, let's say, to kind of, everything can kind of, get used to it. So basically you can do start after 30 minutes. If that's not the case, then you can just leave it at 0. It's going to start imaging right away.
Okay.
Capture every. So basically right here, because of the movement of the stage and it has to go between 2 points, the minimum allowable interval that it can go through is 19 seconds. So that means you can only go from point to point every 19 seconds. Now, if you have, one experiment going on in each well, it's going to be obviously a higher number. Do you have them going on in every well, or?
Yeah, it'll be every.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to probably be closer to 4 minutes, let's say. But is that
fine.
Okay? So basically, have this set to the number of, you can have it set to the minimum allowable interval or higher. It really doesn't matter. So obviously, every couple of minutes, every couple of seconds, once an hour, you want to image it. Totally fine. And then the number of times you actually want to run through that. And then here we have it set 10 times every 19 seconds. It's going to be about 3 minutes and 10 seconds overall. So basically, let's say I wanted to do, I know that these wounds won't heal in under, 5 hours, right? So I'm going to want to bump this up. So if I do 40, it switches to 12 minutes. All right, well, now we're way off, so I'm gonna have to run this every so often. So generally, how long do the healing assays take to?
Oh, a day or.
About a day. Okay, so if you're gonna have them in here all day, then you're basically just going to have this thing set to maybe 24 hours, or if you're not looking to have them completely healed, whatever that time interval is, however long you want it to run for, make sure that it's set here, because this right here is just basically the amount of time it's going to take to image at each point. This is the number of times you're actually going to want to run that experiment, and then here's the total amount of time overall. So let's say you want to do it just for 5 hours. Again, just make sure that you do this right here. I mean, feel free to kind of set this whole thing up, 25 minutes, but you want to get this up to 5 hours. Just keep going up with this number. It might have to be, 500 times. Totally fine.
Okay.
I mean, does this seem pretty straightforward here, do you
Yeah,
think?
no, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, feel free to just kind of read through it really slowly and just kind of see what it does here. But I mean, if the cells you're imaging, are they in any sort of media, or are they just kind of on the bottom?
they're in media.
So maybe what you want to do is wait before capture, because sometimes when it moves to a new coordinate, it's still shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
So this right here is actually going to give it, however long you designate it, it's going to give it a certain number of seconds to actually stop shaking, and then it'll start imaging. So maybe you want to have it, every 2 seconds. Just give it 2 seconds to really make sure it's still, and then start imaging again. So that's wait before capture means,
Okay.
as opposed to start after. Does that
that
make sense to you? Do you want me to cover anything again here and show you how it's done?
No, I think that's really helpful.
Okay, seriously though, if you have any questions about this, wound healing assay is very, very common on this microscope. Give me a call. I can just